Hey everyone, Kim here with Abundant Life Tarot. This is a revisit to one of our Mystery Mystic readings that we did several months back for the case of Teneisha Griffith. Teneisha was last heard from on March 19th, 2022. 5 days later, she was found in the Glacucci area of northern Pasco County, Florida. She was died and dumped more than 50 miles from her home in South Tampa. Now, since we've done our readings on her case, an autopsy was done as well as toxicology, and both reports came back inconclusive. Her white Nissan Altima was found in Tampa, so that was 50 miles away from where she was located or where she was found. And her mother has offered up $20,000 to add to the Crime Stoppers reward of $5,000 for a total of $25,000 on the table for those who can bring information forward on Teneisha's case. So I want to thank two of my subscribers, Darcel Navarro and Malachi Reed, in regards to just requesting that I revisit this case. It had been on my mind for a while to revisit the case, but I wanted to allow some time to pass before we dive back into it and see what was going on. If you haven't already done so, check out the videos I've done already for Teneisha's case so you can see what had previously come up. And in that way, when I'm referring to things that may have popped up from my recollection from the past reading, you'll know what I'm referring to. All right, you all, let's go ahead and get started. So, I want to first talk about the cause of death. The autopsy report came back inconclusive, and the toxicology report didn't yield any results per her sister back in September 2022 when a news reporter interviewed her sister. And that's disheartening because that could lead to more information about who caused this, who did this to her. So we're going to first see if we can delve into the energy surrounding what may have led to her passing. Now, I'm trying these new dice out, these dice that have body regions. We'll see if we can yield anything. Otherwise, I will consult the tarot. Spirit, what is the cause of death? What was the body region affected on Teneisha that was the cause of her demise? The main body region. Chest. So we have chest. I did a pre-test with this little dice beforehand, before I got started here tonight, and I got stomach. So some kind of internal damage to her organs. And chest could be, when I look at the choke card from one of the earlier readings I did on Teneisha's case, check that out. That could be taking her breath away. Her lungs are in her chest cavity, right? Her lungs are in the chest cavity. It could also be something restricting, causing pressure to her chest. It could also be something toxic. But it's interesting to me that the choke card came up and then the chest card came up. Spirit, is there a secondary body region to let us know of regarding what happened to Teneisha, what led to her passing? I'm going to try it again. I'm going to put it right here. Is there a secondary body region on Teneisha that led to her passing away? Right arm. Right arm. Like pinning her, restricting her movement, restricting her airflow. Now, of course, I'm assuming she could have consumed something that could have done that as well. Spirit, what was the cause of Teneisha's death? Of course, death had tumbled out. What was the cause of Teneisha's death? They left her alone. I wonder if law enforcement found her like bound or tied up or just left there. I don't know. We'll see if the cards will give us additional information about that. But they left her alone in the woods, and she just eventually stopped breathing. Spirit, is there anything else you can share about her cause of death? Can't escape. Somebody's cell phone records. Anything else? Mental jail. Try this little deck. It's hit or miss sometimes. Cause of death for Teneisha. I know that when I last did the other reading, that this was not a solo act that somebody did by themselves. Cause of death, Spirit. We're looking for cards that will relate to cause of death. Look. So this person, the main culprit, may have had some assistance and help in what happened to her. Okay, let me show you the cards that we got. I'm going to zoom in. I'll move these up here. We got, remember, the Hermit, being left alone in solitude, left basically to die, which is very disturbing. She could not escape. She couldn't escape. Cell phone. There could be some important information captured in the suspect's phone or even in her phone records about GPS coordinates, social media posts, text messages, phone calls. There could be some important information. And it could speak to somebody's history or desire to do something heinous like this. Can't escape ties into this card. Tied up and bound. Now, what's interesting to me is law enforcement did not mention whether or not she was bound or if she was in a compromised way where she couldn't get out of whatever she was. Like, from what they said, she was dumped. I couldn't find anything beyond that in any subsequent news articles about what happened to her, sadly. There's not much. So I don't know if she was tied up or bound, but what this is telling me is with that choke card that came up in the earlier reading I did was that she could not escape whatever it is that she was in. They left her out there, her chest. She was no longer, after time, she wasn't able to breathe easily. They took her breath away. Her arm was disabled, unable to move or to move her out of this position. She was stuck. Mental jail also speaks to that. Stuck in the situation. That affirms strongly to me that she was in a position that she could not escape. It sounds like an awful, like tangled up with these root systems here I'm looking at with the Hermit. Left all alone. I'm even seeing a vulture like flying over her. Like she was aware, which is sad to me. I'm thinking, oh, they just dumped her after they did something. No, she was awake for a while and unable to move with the mental jail card. Oh my God. Something was going on in February. So this incident occurred in March of 2022. March 19th was when she was last heard from. But there was something about February in her life, in the perp's life, that was of significance. It was like a misadventure, a slip up with this person, an encounter with this person. And social media or her cell phone records could capture that. It can be an important clue onto who she was interacting with in February who led to this situation here. She was moved. We have here with the pickup truck, and we talked about that in the part 1 video, that she was moved. And this is one of the few readings where I did a channeling session where I was able to tap into the moments, the night of leading up to her being taken away. And I could visualize myself laying in the back of a vehicle and being transported to another spot and watching the trees flash by, as if traveling down the highway and you're laying flat and you can see the trees go by. That is what I picked up. So this is confirmation of that. She was laying down in a supine position. Okay, that's what I'm picking up on here. Now this is kind of new. I don't know. I know we had an accomplice energy here, someone who was involved. This female suspect could be somebody who is helping the perpetrators now in covering up what happened to Teneisha, or it could be just someone who was a party to this whole thing early on, and maybe we just didn't pick up on this female's energy. I did suspect that there was a couple of males, 2 males from that first reading, but that doesn't mean that over time, as this went on, that they didn't have help. And from a female who's knowledgeable about what happened to Teneisha. Again, something captured in the cell phone records will be able to lead police to these people. They just have to know the time frames of when to look for this information. Okay, moving on to the next question. Now we want to know, Spirit, who is responsible? And we already touched upon this about who is responsible, but I'm going to see if we can get additional clues. Okay, Queen of Cups, 9 of Coins. Who is responsible? Who is responsible? Let's see. I'm going to get another deck that's sitting away from here. Queen of Cups, 9 of Coins. It's interesting to me. There's 2 females depicted, I will say, because the Queen of Cups it can be male or female, as can be the 9 of Coins, but there's 2 females depicted here. Doesn't mean there's 2 females who are involved, but it could be the sign, cups are tied to water signs. Coins is pentacles tied to earth elements, so it could represent 2 different parties and their elements that are in their chart, although I don't think so necessarily. Look at this. Theft, thief, robber. Okay. Just trying to see if we can get some additional information about who's responsible. We delved very much into the perpetrator's energies, the 2 main males. But I think what Spirit is showing us is that there's now more people involved in this cover-up, and females at that. And it's a monetary thing. This did come up as well, about money being exchanged in order to do something, to move like the vehicle, to keep quiet about something. So that is affirmed again in this reading with the money card. Let me grab this other deck. This card is interesting to me. Again, when I see a card like this, strangulation, this is about suffocating someone, taking somebody's breath away, keeping them quiet, taking the life out of them. And this does coincide with the other cards. It's interesting to me that they weren't able to determine the cause of death. I'm going to have to research why. We got Afrocentric features. I'm going to research why that is. Indigenous. Okay. What I'm going to say is this. It's a group effort now. There's multiple people who now know about what happened to her. There's multiple people who are now involved in what happened post crime, post offense to Teneisha. We have a group fight. That's interesting to me. This could just be speaking to a group involved now. This has grown into a group. There's female energy involved, protective energy, somebody protecting, covering for someone, maybe one or both of the males that I picked up in part one. There's some sort of, independent money and, theft of some sort. I don't know if they stole anything from her. They may not have. But what this could speak to is they stole something from her, her life. These are thieves that we're dealing with, a group of thieves. Male victim. This is a group of thieves. Before I move on, what else can you tell us, Spirit, about these people? Emotional blackmail, humiliation, grief. Okay. So I'll talk about this male victim here for a moment. Male victim is speaking to someone who now has become a victim of the main group. Since what happened to her, there could be another crime involving a male victim that later it comes out that he could have been hurt as a result of the perpetrators who were involved in what happened to Teneisha. And, that could be something that comes out way down the line. Okay. The main perpetrator could have Afrocentric features, or the main perpetrators, not just perpetrator. Another person could have indigenous blood, or could be close or native to this victim when you see the indigenous card, to Teneisha, close to her. But this could represent their lineage, their ethnicity as well. So it could be another person involved. We have sharp features. One of the parties has sharp features. Now, in the past reading we did, there was one person who may have had freckles, and there was tattoos. What else did we have for a description? I don't see any other descriptive, defining characteristics cards. And one of the persons could have green eyes or something striking about their eye color. This also could represent somebody was envious, jealous, green-eyed bandit is what I think of. Okay, out of town. This did happen to Teneisha out of town, but this also could represent that the perpetrators are now out of town or just outside of town, live outside of Tampa, or have left town to avoid getting caught. Child. There is a child victim that is the child of Teneisha. She did have a child that she, is no longer here to take care of, no longer here to be a part of their life. Although this could represent that one of the perps has a child that they're concerned about, that maybe this child lives outside of town, that now they're going to live with maybe a mother or grandmother of this child. And, that's the ruse that they're saying, oh, we're living here to help you take care of this child, when really they're trying to escape what they've done to Teneisha. Let me turn this light around. It's going to be darker, but that's okay. One of the persons has curly or wavy hair. This could be representing the female though, but I do sense it could also represent a male that's involved that has curly or wavy hair. And we speak on the money issue that ties into the 9 of coins, something pertaining to money, an exchange of money in order to be quiet, for example. Now, some of the cards I wanted to talk to you all about is we have truck. Again, there was pickup truck and truck. Someone moving away, getting away from the situation. May not even be in town anymore. Could be in town, but just outside of town, has easy access to leaving if they need to, a desire to leave and get out of town. This also could represent that there's important evidence that is in that area where she was found, because that was out of town, out of where she lived. We have rage, someone in denial about what has happened, someone denying involvement. There is grief surrounding the situation, grief, and we're talking about the perpetrators. There's someone who is feeling immense grief over what they've done. One of these parties who is involved, who's now involved, who is maybe aiding and abetting after the fact, has some level of grief. Humiliation. Somebody wanted to humiliate her. And they also felt humiliated by Teneisha. And so this is what led to their rage in doing something that made them snap. Like all of this build up. And I do get a female. At first, I wasn't sure if I picked up on a female energy, but I do pick up on a female energy as someone who may have been jealous of her and had no qualms about covering up or covering for some of one of the main perpetrators in what happened to her. Emotional blackmail could speak to that dynamic. It could speak to maybe somebody was using emotional blackmail, but I sense that whatever was going on with Teneisha and these perpetrators, it happened pretty fast, like over 5 weeks or so, like in February to March. So I'm sensing that this emotional blackmail card is actually referring to whoever is covering for the perpetrators. Someone who feels guilty, feels, like they owe the perpetrators something, and the perpetrators maximize on that emotional blackmail to their benefit. Okay. So we'll see if we can find out where are the perpetrators. Where are the perpetrators? The gem. They're living their life. Yeah, they're living their life. They are not necessarily feeling like cops are really doing anything in terms of searching or trying to find them. Let's see if we can get some location cards. Where are they, Spirit? Where are they? Where are these perps now, since this has happened? The out-of-town card could indicate that they have left. We've got Northwest. Best believe that there is a crime here. And just because the autopsy is inconclusive doesn't mean that there wasn't a crime. Look, that happens. A crime did happen. And these people have skedaddled. They've skedaddled, which is unfortunate. They've left. And they're living life normally. I'll show you what those cards are in a minute, but we have gym, convenience store, gas station. These cards are just indicating to me that, they're not shaking in their boots, like worried that law enforcement is after them. They're not. Like, there's no pressure on their part to come forward. There's no pressure to run and stay in hiding. None of it. Yeah, they're on the go. They're on the go. I'll pull a tarot card and see if there's anything else. Yeah, they started a new life. They've caused all this grief with the Five of Cups, and now they're off embarking on a new journey. I'm really worried about that. I'm worried about that. Let me show you these cards here. So we got one person may have gone northwest within hours of where the crime or where Tampa is located. Another person could have gone southeast 1,000 kilometers or more. I didn't get a cross the border card, but I wouldn't be surprised if that came up later, because we've got new identity, don't want to be found, fresh start, new life. These people are living their life. These are not people you want on the streets. This is someone who assaulted someone, who tried to take someone, violate someone. We see here with these things, sexual, the R word, assault, non-consensual. And they moved along their way. They're living their life. The Fool card is about starting a new beginning, taking a leap and leaving town. That is very alarming. I'll just sit those over. I'll make them pretty later. I'll make all the cards pretty. This is my messy table for now. Now we'll see if Spirit can answer this for us. Why did they do what they did to Teneisha? Scourge. Well, that one flew all the way to the floor. It's not money motivated, but money is involved because people were like paid off or told to keep quiet. So we're going to look at these cards now in terms of why was this done to her. So we got Scourge. I think that's Scourge. I think that's how you pronounce it. Discipline and punishment. Brutality, extreme suffering, shame, and subjugation. We talked about this before. They wanted to humiliate her. Spirit, why did they want to humiliate this girl? It was like the trumpet, it was like they wanted to let it be known that you can't do something, say something, act a way towards this main perpetrator. It really is just that. Like, they wanted to humiliate her and punish her. The hand. Having a hand in this, wanting it to be known that you can't disrespect someone. You can't do something to someone. They have to be punished. They have to be put in their place. And they had a hand in this. Like, they had followers in this group that may not have had a direct hand in what happened to her, but they have a hand in the cover-up. and the keeping secrets and not revealing to law enforcement what has happened or where these people have gone or what they know. So, and this trumpet is letting others know that this could happen to them too. You too, if you cross me, can be punished. You too can be punished. That's what is why. That's the motive. That's the motive. Huh. So now we want to know, Spirit, what is going on with this investigation? I'll stick these over here for a moment. I'm going to put them all in order for our picture here. We'd like to know what is going on with the investigation. Is it moving forward? Ankh. Just going to pull one or two cards from this deck and then the tarot. Is it moving forward? Is it stopped? Is it progressing? Let me just ask the Spirit. What's going on with the investigation? Is it active? Is it active? It is active. The officers are still working the case with the Eight of Wands. There's still movement in the case. There's still progression happening. It's just we are not privy to it. However, that doesn't mean that that's going to lead to justice. That doesn't necessarily mean that just because they're actively working on it, it's going to lead to justice. But, and what, let me just back up here. What alarms me is that the key players may have left the area from what we see here. They have left tears and heartache and grief in their wake and just went off and started a new life. Where's that new life card? Look at this. New life. So the cops now not only have to prove that these people have done this, but they have to track them down and bring them to justice. So it is encouraging that it is active. I will say that. That is encouraging. And then with the Ankh card, this is about secret knowledge. This is knowledge kept away from the public, from the family. Okay. They have increased, each moment within weeks' time, they will have increased knowledge about who did this. I also sense that with this card, that they do know, they may have an idea based on the cell phone records and like what they understand, who she was hanging out with in February, who may have been responsible. The Saturn card speaks to adversity and hardships. The adversity and hardships speaks to also the autopsy coming back inconclusive and the tox report not yielding enough results. But that's interesting to me. I suppose that if the toxicology had come back that she had a bunch of drugs or had a bunch of alcohol, and maybe she did, and her sister just is refusing to mention that, and that's her right. But I would imagine if it had that would be worthy of noting and telling the public, like, okay, this person perhaps had been drugged or had been really inebriated and something happened to her while she was inebriated. Because there wasn't really anything reported back that was in her system, then we are circling back to the fact that her body probably was in such a state of decomposition that you're not now able to see the cause of death, but the cause of death, is something that is very suspicious. This is a young woman in her late 20s, and then she's 50 miles from her vehicle. Okay, this card is also about male sexuality and dominance, authority and control. This is talking about they know of someone in the midst who didn't like being disrespected. So the authority, the police, they do have some level of control over the investigation. That is encouraging to see. They're just not revealing or showing their hands. This is how this particular agency is handling this investigation. Nevertheless, it's frustrating because some folks who are involved or in the know have left based on these cards. Okay, now What's coming up? What's next in the investigation? Make the cards pretty. Okay. And Spirit, when is the next development in this case? Springtime. Okay, so it's a mixed bag with regards to what's going to happen next in the investigation. Where's another deck? Oh, there it is. It's a mixed bag because we got the 9 of Wands. We've got the reverse strength, a weakening of the case. It's getting cold, or losing, the law enforcement is losing their strength. But there could be a development that unfolds in the springtime. I'll tell you why in a moment. I'll tell you why in a moment. It's also interesting that the cops didn't even mention, if they had, looked for prints on the car or what yielded of DNA evidence as it relates to the vehicle, because clearly someone drove her vehicle from where they dropped her off and dumped her over in Pasco County and then took it back to Tampa. I mean, so what happened with that? Why can't you at least share some information on that? So that does lead me to believe that they do have a bit more information than they are letting on. Okay, I got a mess of cards here. Let me move. Hold on, you all. I'm going to move because this is the last question and we're going to wrap it up for Teneisha's case. And I should just let you all know that this will probably be my last case I'm going to do for 2023 unless something urgently comes up. But I'm going to take a little break for the rest of the month. So be sure to check out some of the older cases I've covered. If you haven't watched them all, you can catch up because oftentimes people ask me to revisit the cases and I do. So this is a revisit. Teneisha's case is a revisit, and that's what we're doing right now. But yeah, I'm going to be taking a little break when it comes to the Mystery Mystic Mondays and musings videos. There will be other types of content on the channel, but we are going to be taking a little break as far as like doing these types of readings so I can restore my energy. I wanted to keep these separate. Okay, so we've got a couple of wands here. Wands represents the season of spring, the timing of weeks, battered and beat up, but nevertheless making some progress. Okay, having a little moment of victory, something coming up in the investigation that enlightens law enforcement, takes them a few steps forward. But the strength card is concerning. It is in the reverse position. This is about a weakening case. It could be that as the case progresses forward towards the strength period of July 21st to August 20th, that the police feel like they don't have a strong case. Okay. They could have a lot of circumstantial evidence, by the way, but I get a sense that there's some degradation going on with the evidence. Someone older, gray hair color, either law enforcement, someone who's very wise and knowledgeable, or this could represent someone who's wise in the perpetrator's life, has some information, and maybe tip somebody off, a witness who has gray hair, for example. This represents an actual live person. What else I want to share? Oh, where is it? Where are you? There you are. Oh, sorry guys. I'm having all sorts of difficulties tonight. Okay. So buried, something being buried. I never can pronounce this word correctly. Something being buried, information being stifled or not needing to be unearthed. This could mean that whatever in the springtime is unearthed, they figure out some more information, but there's still more to dig up. It has something to do with a vehicle. It could be the perpetrator's vehicle that has key information, or it could be Teneisha's white Altima that has key information. There's going to be a man who might either be arrested for some unrelated charge pertaining to a male victim over here that comes up, that is offering up some information about Teneisha's case. That could be what this is speaking to. It also could just be speaking to a man who is involved here, okay? Ten of Pentacles is a favorable card. It does indicate completion, success in a case, long-term success realized, ultimate completion, a final resolution. The only problem with the Pentacles is it can indicate years in the making. Years. And I don't even want to, say how long, because I don't even want to put it out in the universe. But I know how long what this is tied to. It can take up to 10 years, but we're just going to set the intention that Spirit can move things, move mountains. But it can be up to years before resolution happens in this case. Look, cell phone records may provide important clues. We talked about that earlier with the cell phone card. Take a closer look at one of the suspects. Spirit has spoken on that. And here's the thing. There's no named suspects in this case. That's another frustrating thing. Did I hit all the cards? I just haven't talked about these two yet. I'll talk about these last. I got a mess of cards here for y'all. Anything else, Spirit, that we need to be aware of? Someone coerced the killer into murdering the victim. That's what we were talking about before. There's some sort of element of, you got to do something for me. You need to help me out here. You need to do this. It's just some element of that, which is quite disturbing, to be honest. It's quite sadistic, honestly. Jealousy, an affair, or love-related crime. So it's not like money motivated. It's cruel, in my opinion. And surveillance cameras may provide important clues. So I just feel like they need to go back to the cell phone records, look at where she was at, look at where some potential persons of interest were at, and then canvass that area. Now it's running out of time. Many surveillance videos have now recorded over, after 30 days. But there could be somebody who doesn't have that happening with their cameras and could provide some important information. Or this is also saying that they have already done this. They already have this information, law enforcement, in their fold. They just need to look at it again. Or that they have this, and this is part of their evidence, their circumstantial evidence that they have. Victim had a history with the perp or killer. Yeah. So it's not stranger danger, as I call it. All right, so this video has gone on quite a bit. So I'm going to go ahead and try to wrap it up here. Wasn't expecting it to be this long, but we had to cover a lot because, we had to. Okay, so we got frog. This is about disappointments, and this is pertaining to the question of what's to come in this investigation and what to expect and whatnot. Something unpleasant that you may have to accept, that this is going to take a long time. It's going to take a long time to crack and resolve, but what family needs to do is keep her name out there and keep pressing law enforcement, and don't let Teneisha's case just go by the wayside. Be like a thorn in their side. Okay. The Diamond card is speaking to, a promise of something realized, of something worthy of pursuing, and that is her justice. And that it's not going to necessarily come when you want it or in the way that you want it, but it will come. So, keep the faith, hold fast to it. And I'm just praying that, the justice is served in Teneisha's case. I'm so sorry that this has happened to her. I am praying for those who did this to her are brought to justice. And I just thank you all so much for joining me. I thank those who have recommended her case. Thank you. Thank you for recommending the case, as well as thank you for asking me to revisit it. Please, on your way out, do me a favor and hit the like button. Also, subscribe to the channel if you have not done so already. And I will see you all after my break. I'm going to take a little break, but I'll be back in January, I believe. So, if you have some case suggestions, let me know. I'll, be around. I will be around. There will be content going up on the channel. I just will not necessarily be doing this type of content for a bit. All right, loves, take very good care of yourselves. I'm going to clean this up so I can take a proper picture of these, separated, so we can really look at these later as the case unfolds. And I will see you all later. Bye for now.